On the morning of 9/11, it was our first full day on the island. We had our breakfast. We walked up the hill, hearing the sound of the bell tolling in the tower behind us, to have our morning service, which they do every morning here. I love this place, and this morning I was especially caught by the playing of the organist, and I just loved hearing the slightly rickety, wheezy sound of the pump organ. All of a sudden I began writing a poem about it and sketching it secretly in my little book, so that when the service was done and everybody went down the hill, I asked Mary Lou to stay and talk with me for a while so I could ask her questions about the organ and how things worked and the stops. And while we were seated right here, the door opens up and somebody comes in and gives us a kind of an odd look. And then they said this line, and now after 10 years, I can hear the voice perfectly. I can picture their face. They just said, "You don't know, do you?" As a poet, not surprisingly, the John Donne quote came to my mind from his Meditations, where it said, "No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main." And on Star that day, we were a living metaphor for that. On the morning we heard that they'd blown up the world. In an old stone chapel, on a tiny crag of granite, 10 miles out from the continent, this little maplewood pump organ, carved and pillared to look like the doorway to a child's church. Her 2 feet pumping the broad pedals, stoking the bellows, building the pressure. Then the organist tugs out the wooden stop. Why stops? Aren't they the start, the opening of the passageways, the charging of the reeds? And her fingers plunge again and again, the sounds mounting, chord upon sinewy chord, stop after stop. Dulciana, diapason, flute, baritone, forte, a barrage of invisible wings, beating the air as the Bach prelude swells, buffeting the whitewashed walls, hammering the cold stone floor. She plays until the tendons stand like bowstrings across the backs of her hands. And then, mid-phrase, she stops, and the bellows fail, and the grand paradisial sound expires into silence. Now she pulls the one stop that's lost its name piece and intones a C from 4 octaves deep in the organ's well. Om. Its overtones like blue flames shimmering about a dying fire. She pumps and plays this single dire note, and the chapel walls resonate, as do the lungs behind our ribcage, and the heart, that tiny storm-struck island adrift in its bitter sea. The wave carrying beyond us, toward home, that darkened shore. And when it feels there is no peace left in all creation, the organ breathes, and still she plays more.